Hi, Linda Bowen here from StampingWithLinda.com, your cardiologist since 1997, helping you create cards from the heart. Today I am going to show you how to make this beautiful Easter pop-up box. Now, isn't that pretty? It's just got a fun little Easter box within the card. This is a card that I did for a swap for my advisory board sisters, and it's got a lot of fun tricks to it. It's also a card that we are doing at my upcoming stamp retreat. So let's get started. All of the information will be on my blog. You can click either on the I at the top or down in the link if you're watching on YouTube for all the supplies and complete measurements. I am bringing in a piece of Sierra Stan. This measures 5.5 by 12, and you can get this in the So Love bundle of cardstock. But we are going to score it, and we are first going to score at the 4-inch. So scoring at the 4-inch. Then we are going to score at the 6, the 8, and the 10. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip the card so that the place where I scored at the 4 is at the bottom, and I'm going to put the side of my cardstock up to the 3.5-inch mark, and I am going to now cut from the edge all the way down to that 4-inch score line. I'm going to flip the card up, and I'm just going to be cutting out right on that 4-inch mark, so it should be level over here on the 8-inch, and it should be lining up in my groove, and I'm just going to cut down to that cut line. So I'm just cutting this piece of paper out, and now I have the base of my card for my Easter box, and I'm just going to score those score lines back and forth. And this, like I said, is going to form my box. Now, I used the wood grain background stamp, and I used it with the Early Espresso. Now, I do want my wood grain, it would cover more this way, but my grain would be going sideways. So what I did was I inked my stamp, and then I just laid down on that box just 2 squares at a time. So I'm going to just bring in, let's see if I've got a smaller piece of paper here that I can use for scrap, and I do. So I'm just going to lay that down so I don't get as much ink on my fingers, and just going to rub that back and forth. And then I'm going to lift that up, and then I'm going to re-ink and do those last 2 squares. And I've dropped my piece of paper here. So lay that down like so. And just move and get that inked well. Now, I did with my sample card, I went ahead and sponged on all the corners just to give it more depth. I see I did not bring my dauber or a sponge over, so I won't be doing that. But now I am ready for the sky, and what I have taken is a piece of soft sky, and I have a template here. This is from the clouds from the Lift Me Up bundle, and I'm just going to be using that negative image. I'm going to bring in my craft ink pad and a sponge dauber, and I'm going to sponge my clouds. Now, I could have used the cutout and used the clouds, but I didn't want the clouds to be the dominant part of my card with the pop-up. I wanted that Easter basket too. So this is just a fun way to get some clouds on a piece of blue cardstock. Going to go ahead and add that to the back part of my card. I want to use a lot of adhesive. Now, this is a little bit smaller than 4" because of the fold. So I just want to add that down like so. And now I'm ready to assemble my box. So I am just using snail. You could use sticky tape if you want. You really want to make sure that your score lines are really burnished. I should have done that before I taped it because we want it to be able to fold over. But I'm just going to fold that in like so. And that is going to fold down like that on the front of my card to form that box. What I have taken is 3 pieces of garden green. These are a 1/2 inch wide, and I think they're 3 inches long, and I scored them at 1/2 inch on each end. I'm going to go in and I'm going to grab glue dots, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my insert. So I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. I'll do it and then I'll hold it up. So I've got my glue dots, and these little tabs are going to go onto the inside of the box. So just making the little grid. This is very similar to the box in a card or card in a box. Can't remember exactly what we called it. Very same principle, except I just cut it down to form that Easter box. And then I'm just going to layer the next 2 right on top of that grit. I'll show you them once I get them placed. So see, they're just going one on top of the other. Like I said, I did 3 of them. I've already taken and used the framelits for this set and cut out my grass because I didn't want to bore you with all the little pieces, but I did want to show you how the construction of this went together. So I've got my grids in there. I'm going to bring in some grass. Going to use my multi-purpose glue to glue that down. So I'm just going to add some glue there. I'm going to put grass right along here. Now you will need to trim it off a little bit because it is longer, or you can slip it underneath if you haven't put your adhesive all the way across. And I've got my grass there. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some grass in on my grits. So again, these do need trimmed off just a little bit. See if I did that enough. I did. I'm going to put that one down a little bit further. See if it's going to stick good. I may have to trim that a little bit because I want my grass to be short enough to be able to see my bunny. So again, just going to add some adhesive. I need to cut off just a little bit more. If you're a precise person, you would need to use a ruler to do that because the grits are only about 2 inches. With me, this just works fine. They don't have to, the grass doesn't have to go all the way across on each one. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the back and make that a little bit higher. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my flowers, and these daffodils, I've already stamped them. I used Early Espresso ink and stamped it on the daffodil cardstock. So I've got 2 of them. There is a little stem that goes with it, so let me see if I can find that. Again, just going to take that glue, just run it down, and I find if I'm using the multi-purpose glue, it's more forgiving if I get too much glue somewhere than the fine tip. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. One more here. I've already taken this one I want to go down in here, and I have done, it does take a second for this to dry completely, and I'm seeing that I've got glue on my fingers. Not a good thing, because then now it wants to stick to my fingers. But you'll get the idea. Maybe I'll get it to stick yet. And add a piece of glue. You know, I'm just going to leave that and let it dry. I do have the bit wider leaves that I'll put in. I have the little glimmer eggs. These are from the free celebration. So I'm just going to pop them on my grass. Got a little bunny here that I want popping up. And you get the general idea. You can decorate this however you wish. Best to wait in between glues to make them stick and stay rather than to move it about. I also did, there's a series of eggs that are smaller, and I did the same thing. I just cut out the baby eggs and put them on the grass. And I'm just going to bring in that finished one. You know how to glue it back together. Again, make sure you let the glue dry completely before you try compressing your box down. But there you have it, a beautiful Easter box card. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you real soon.